At 6:18 p.m. on a calm October evening, a home security camera across Redwood Lane captured the final moments anyone would ever see of the Peterson family. In the footage, Lydia Peterson stepped out onto her porch with her 4-year-old daughter on her hip. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't looking around casually. She froze in place and stared directly across the street toward her neighbor's house, as if she sensed something wrong. Just seconds later, she backed into the house quickly and shut the door behind her. What no one knew at the time was that this brief, unsettling moment would become the key to understanding a disappearance that would haunt investigators for years. Within 24 hours, the Peterson family of 4, Mark, his wife Lydia, and their children Evan and Sophie, would vanish without a single trace. No goodbye, no phone activity, no sign of a struggle. Their disappearance would shock the quiet community of South Ridge, Colorado, and what investigators eventually uncovered in the house across the street would explain everything and raise even more questions. The Petersons were a calm, predictable family. Mark was an electrician, Lydia ran a small baking business, and their kids attended the nearby elementary school. They lived a simple routine, so when none of them appeared at work or school on October 13th, neighbors felt uneasy. At first, everyone assumed it was a quick trip or a family emergency, but as the hours passed, people noticed small, unsettling details. The Petersons' car never moved, the house stayed lit all night, and no one had seen the children playing outside. Something was wrong, and deep down, the neighborhood knew it. Investigators pieced together the family's final movements, relying on CCTV footage, neighbor reports, and digital timestamps. At 5:42 p.m. the previous evening, Mark returned home from work. Nothing seemed unusual. He walked inside normally. Minutes later, Lydia appeared on the porch in that now critical clip where she stared at the house across the street. At 6:10 p.m., the family sat down to eat. A neighbor later confirmed seeing them through the dining room window. But at 6:27 p.m., something strange happened. Mark looked at his phone, stood up abruptly, and stepped outside. A neighbor's camera captured him staring toward the home of Harold Crane, their reclusive, older neighbor. Mark's posture shifted instantly, like he recognized something troubling. After only a few seconds, he retreated inside quickly. Then came the moment investigators still don't fully understand. At 7:14 p.m., the lights inside the Peterson house flickered, not like a typical power outage, but like someone had tampered with the electrical panel. As an electrician, Mark would have recognized this immediately. 3 minutes later, the front door opened briefly. A shadowy figure stood in the doorway, unmoving, as though checking whether someone was outside. The figure's identity remains unknown because the porch light failed to illuminate the face. Then the door slowly closed. By 8:01 p.m., faint movement was visible through the curtains, only a silhouette holding what appeared to be a small flashlight. And at 8:02 p.m., all activity stopped. No more movement, no voices, no sounds, just silence. The next morning, the Petersons were officially missing. Their house was unlocked, dinner was still on the table, the children's backpacks were by the door, and the TV was quietly playing a kids' show. Every phone, wallet, and key was still inside. The family appeared to have stepped out for a moment and simply never returned. Detectives combed through the home carefully. There were no signs of struggle, no forced entry, nothing stolen. But there was one disturbing detail. The electrical panel in the basement had been tampered with. Someone with knowledge of wiring had loosened and reattached circuits, something that could cause the flicker captured on CCTV. The pattern of wiring changes didn't match a regular technician's routine. In fact, it looked more like someone had intentionally caused small power disturbances. Naturally, investigators turned their attention to the neighbor across the street, Harold Crane. Harold was known for being quiet, odd, and extremely private. He worked late into the night, kept his blinds closed at all hours, and rarely spoke to anyone. Multiple neighbors reported seeing him standing in his driveway, staring directly at the Peterson house late at night. When police searched Harold's property, what they found was deeply unsettling. Inside his backyard shed were Mark's missing work gloves. Gloves Lydia said he always kept at home. In Harold's garage was a breaker panel nearly identical to the one inside the Petersons' home, with fresh fingerprints matching Mark's. But the most chilling discovery was inside a locked room in Harold's basement. Tacked to the walls were detailed, hand-drawn diagrams of the Petersons' house, including notes about their routines, when the lights usually turned off, which rooms the children slept in, and what time the family typically sat down for dinner. But none of these discoveries answered the most important question. Where was the Peterson family now? Search teams scoured the woods, drainage routes, abandoned buildings, and nearby highways. Cadaver dogs picked up a scent trail leading from the Petersons' front door straight to Harold's backyard gate, but the trail stopped abruptly. There were no footprints, no tire marks, nothing to indicate a vehicle. It was as if the trail simply evaporated. Theories began to emerge. Some believed the family had left voluntarily, though this made little sense. They left behind everything essential. Others suggested Harold had intentionally tampered with their electrical system to lure Mark outside for a confrontation. Another theory was that the family sensed danger, which could explain the flashlight and the figure at the door, and were preparing to leave but were interrupted. A few investigators believed the answer lay somewhere hidden on Harold's property, perhaps in a place search teams had overlooked. Despite months of searches and countless tips, the Petersons were never found. The house sits untouched, still filled with their belongings, exactly as they left them. Harold himself died 6 months after the disappearance, taking whatever he knew to the grave. His home remains one of the most disturbing crime scenes investigators have ever encountered, not because of what was found, but because of what wasn't. To this day, no one knows what happened on Redwood Lane that night. No one knows why the lights flickered, why Lydia froze on her porch, or why Mark reacted with sudden dread when he looked across the street. And until the Peterson family is found, the quiet truth hidden inside their neighbor's home remains one of the most chilling mysteries the town has ever faced. If you want more mysterious true crime cases like this, subscribe for the next episode.
Support the channel, hit the like and subscribe button.